So this is part B of the KhoodeelaarTV television channel, broadcasting under months 20 hours edition or bulletin on Sunday the 12th of Sunday the 12th of March 2023 is also the day when we noticed an internet online post on the Guardian, London Guardian online, or Guardian.com. And we shall and read what it says. So this is the this piece on the Independent, the internet only item, is still talking about the BBC and Gary Lineker. It is not talking about that bill, and I'm looking for the bill and I'm scrolling down. It's match of the day, the BBC, Premier League, and everything else that has happened around the decision by the BBC to drop or suspend Gary Lineker, but no mention yet of the bill that caused Lineker, and there is no mention at all. So I'm checking in a different way. The heading is completely misleading. Fucking stupid cunts at the Independent. What the fuck? What fucking journalism is it? This is headed How the Gary Lineker and Match of the Day chaos unfolded and the repercussions for the BBC. There is no fucking mention about the actual fascistic bill. And we should be talking about this at some length. Okay. We're just going over to the piece in The Guardian, which has got, compared to the independent version, has got at least some sort of relationship with the actual bill. The saga began when Lineker described the government Stop the Boats Bill. That's the bill. The bill is being called popularly Stop the Boats Bill, unveiled last week as an immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in languages used by Germany in the 1930s. Now that is much more accurate compared to the Independent. So let's go and search for the Stop the Boats bill. Let's see if we can locate it. And we should check the now this is from the government's website, okay? And its heading is groundbreaking new laws to stop the boats. So that's the actual government's heading. Groundbreaking new laws to stop the boats. And I'm reading from the www.gov.uk website. And it says news story. Groundbreaking new laws to stop the boats. Laws include legal duty on the Home Secretary to remove anyone who enters the UK illegally. And then it says earlier this year, the Prime Minister made stopping the boats one of his 5 promises to British people. The Stop the Boats or Illegal Migration Bill will fulfill that promise by ending illegal entry as a route to asylum in the UK. Now, let's check if they have any recognition on the UK of the most important element, which is the international treaty obligations that the United Kingdom is under. Okay, let's check. We're checking very thoroughly all these items. So I'm just sorting out the files that I've created by working in the last few hours. So you can imagine how many files I've been creating in the last few hours, doing the research, analysis, and the investigation and fact checking and truth checking in preparation for this edition of the KhoodeelaarTV television channel, being broadcast under the banner of the Baby Angel Geronimo editions, only on the internet, not on satellite, not on terrestrial, not on cable networks. How many files have I created in the last few hours? Let's check. Part of the this one is 89 files, and let's check the time in which I have created 89 files. This is starting from 1532 hours and ending at, is it that time? No, let's check again. (1327). So started at 1327 and ending at 2151, whatever the length of time that is. That is the time when I've created, let's say, 90 files. I've worked on 90 files in that time. Now, if I add the other ones, it would be probably more than 100. That is the amount of work that is needed in preparation this broadcast to get the facts right, the ethics right, the morality right, the law right. We don't do anything, speculation. No, we don't do any speculation, full stop. So this is now in the course of that research, we of course read the piece several times. When the Guardian dealt with the apology by the British Board of Deputies, no, the Board of British Jews, the Board of Deputies of British Jews, and the Board of Deputies of British Jews, which was founded in Britain a few hundred years ago, hardly has apologized to anyone. It doesn't apologize to anyone because the Board of British Jews, or the British Board of British Jews, is also abbreviated into board. Now this is the Guardian piece that is byline to Nadeem Badshah. Nadeem Badshah posted this at 1852 hours GMT on Sunday, the 12th of March 2023. Okay, so the first paragraph of Nadeem Badshah reads as follows. The Board of Deputies of British Jews has apologized to the journalist Rachel Shabi after a message on its official Twitter account described her as an asshole. The tweet from the organization's account on Saturday was in response to Shabi's comments on Holocaust education. The subsequently deleted tweet read, Rachel Shabi telling the head of the Holocaust Education Trust that she is plainly wrong about the Holocaust is the definition of chaspa, the shamelessness of this asshole. Shabi had disagreed with an opinion piece by Karen Pollock, the chief executive of the Holocaust Educational Trust in the Times. Pollock's article appeared on Friday. Now it didn't, because the Times of Friday that I have in front of me doesn't have anything by Karen Pollock. So that fucking piece is a complete fucking lie by the fucking Guardian. Stupid morons. Now there is an opinion comment by Rachel Sylvester. The Friday is the 10th of March, right? So Rachel Sylvester has got the piece, NHS must innovate to tackle staff burnout. And the following page, again, a comment, it's by Ed Conway. Now, Ed Conway is a financial journalist seen often on the Sky News network. His piece is Arts degrees are vital to our artificial intelligence future. And the item underneath that, the comment, is by Martin Samuel, writing a notebook. And it's Martin Samuel is writing the notebook because the usual notebook writer is not there. It says, spare us the clutching of pearls over Lineker. It's not by Karen Pollock, is it? And the opposite page, on page 25 of the Times of Friday, the 10th of March, also contains the Peter Brooks cartoon showing that Macron and his company are kicking Rishi Sunak, and Sunak is saying, will you take back cross-channel migrants? And Macron is, of course, saying, fuck off. That's what Peter Brooks is doing in his cartoon. Underneath the Peter Brook cartoon is a piece about America. DeSantis may be too much of a throwback. And it's written by Gerard Baker. Gerard Baker's piece, subheading, Florida governor's record in office would usually sustain a White House run, but achievement counts for little today. Now, there is no Karen Pollock. And the next page is letters to the editor. So I made a kind of concession and gave him the benefit of the doubt, and suppose that he might mean by a comment piece a comment in a letter by Karen Pollock, but there is no Karen Pollock listed by the Times among the letter writers that the Times has published on Friday. So the Guardian is completely fucking stupid. It says Pollock's article appeared on Friday. Where the fuck? Amid growing over a tweet by Gary Lineker, who had described the government's immigration policy as immeasurably cruel, and using language not dissimilar to that used by by Germany in the 1930s. Now, what Gary Lineker was doing a tweet, which by definition is limited to the number of words that can be accommodated in one tweet. So he should have either done a kind of series of tweets so that he could have explained what he was meaning. But he didn't do that. He assumed that was enough. So this Guardian piece by Vedh Shah says, in her piece, Pollock wrote, however passionately we feel about important and pressing issues of the day, comparing those current concerns with the unimaginable horrors of the Nazi period is wrong. Now, whichever editions of the Times, if there was another edition that Vedh Shah was referring to that I haven't seen, because I bought only one. I mean, I can only buy one copy of the Times, can I not? I mean, it's not possible to buy all the editions because all the editions are not there. At the newsstand, there is only one edition of the paper concerned, anyway. So, in our piece, Polo wrote, however passionate, in response, Shabi, who has written for The Guardian and New York Times, tweeted, this is plainly wrong. A key tenet, a key principle, let's say, of Holocaust education is never again for anyone. The Holocaust is unique, but never again is in quotation marks, is universal. Drawing out similarities and parallels is critical and part of the education. In response to the tweet from the Board of Deputies account, Shabi wrote on Saturday night, Hi, Board of Deputies, do you want to apologize and explain how this happened? It's not a very tough question, is it? The organization, which was established in 1760, which is in the 18th century, and comprises more than 300 deputies directly elected by the synagogues and communal organizations they represent, issued an apology on Saturday. It wrote, late last night there was a tweet issued in error from the Board of Deputies Twitter account directed to Rachel Shabi. This tweet used inappropriate language for which we unreservedly apologize. It doesn't say apologize to Rachel Shabi, but that's what it is. The tweet was immediately removed. We have also reached out privately to apologize. They again don't mention that they have reached out to Rachel Shabi. Shabi has welcomed the apology, but urged the organization, that is the Board of Deputies of British Jews, to take action against the person responsible. Rachel Shabi tweeted, thanks for the apology. Though the problem isn't just the language, but the substance of the post. I am concerned that the person intending to post this on their personal account is responsible for your Twitter account. Can you take action? Now, that's the end of the Nadeem Badshah piece. And it doesn't mention the bill. It has got a picture of Rachel Shabi and it doesn't mention Israel. Now, whoever is watching this, whenever you are watching this, you need and you deserve the facts. And the facts include the following. I shall do a neutral kind of citation, neutral that is objectively accessed, so that you can see where I'm getting the source, what the source I'm using. Now, what the Nadeem Badshah piece didn't mention is what I shall be reading at the beginning of this entry. Rachel Shahi also said in her tweet 5 days ago, well, 1 day, 3 days, and 5 days. Rachel, do you want to apologize and explain how this happened? I've read that part. That was 1 day ago. And the tweet 3 days ago, the fact that there is a roaring, screaming, front page news leading outcry about Gary Lineker's tweet tells us something deeply chilling and disturbing about Britain's media political ecosystem. And the tweet she posted 5 days ago, that is appearing in the search on Google, Israel's anti democratic coup is not an aberration, but an acceleration in the direction the country has been taking for decades. The difference now is that the target is Jewish Israelis, not just Palestinians. And that is in The Guardian. So that is posted on 8 March 5 at 10:25 a.m. on the 8th of March, and in the Guardian opinions, Israel's anti-democratic coup is not an aberration, but an acceleration in the direction the country has been taking for decades. The difference now is that the target is Jewish Israelis, not just Palestinians. Now, Rachel Shabi was born in Israel, but she is of Iraqi background. She descends from Jewish people from Iraq. And Rachel Shabi has written about that and has commented about that, yeah? And let's check. Okay, so Rachel Shabi, born in Israel to Iraqi Jewish parents in Ramat Gan. Shabi grew up in the UK. She studied politics and literature at the University of Edinburgh. And it says born Ramat Gan, Israel, an occupation journalist and author. So the career is described in the Wikipedia entry as a journalist based in the UK, having also reported from the Middle East, including on the Israel Palestinian conflict, and from Tunisia and Egypt. As well as focusing on the Middle East, she writes on issues such as progressive politics, the far right, counter extremism, and migration. She is also the author of a book and regularly appears as a commentator on international news channels. Shabi has written for publications including The Guardian, the New York Times, the London Times, the Independent, Al Jazeera English, Foreign Policy, Prospect, and the New Statesman. Now, this is the most talked about book about Rachel Shabi. Not the Enemy, Israel's Jews from Arab Lands. Obviously, she talks from her own experience. Was published in 2009. And in the work, Shabi argued that Israel has discriminated against and culturally stripped its population of Jews from Arab and Muslim countries. The book received a National Jewish Book Award. Shabi was shortlisted for the 2011 Orwell Journalism Prize and was a joint winner in the press category of the Anna Lindh Journalist Award for reporting across cultures for her article "We Were Looking for a Nice, Peaceful Place Near Jerusalem," published by The Guardian the same year. In 2013, Shabi won the International Media Awards Cutting Edge Media Award. In September 2017, Ian Dale placed Shabi at number 30 on his list of the 100 most influential people on the left, up 60 places on his previous listing. Noting that omnipresent on our screens, The redoubtable Shabi is one of the few Corbyn supporting commentators to be taken seriously by the media. Thoughtful and fluent, she deserves a massive rise in this year's list. That is Ian Dale. Shabi identifies as an Arab Jew and has lamented the stigmatization of Arab Jewish culture in Israel. Now, this is the background, and this is all of it, most of it anyway. In the entry, I'm retrieving as I'm broadcasting from the Wikipedia website. Now, Shabi is therefore not a non Jewish person. She's highly visible and highly audible and highly active and highly regarded, if you like, mainstream media personality in the UK. So for her to be given an unreserved apology by the Board of British Jews is not exceptional. This is how it should be. But it shouldn't be. Anyone else who is not a Jewish person would receive anything like the apology that she has received. In fact, anyone daring the act of any Jewish person, no matter how unrelated that person's action under reference may be to their faith, their religion, or the state of Israel, would be preliminary target of outright condemnation as anti-Semitic. So we should be talking more about the anti-Semitism and all the rest of it in due course, more extensively later, not in this edition, but later. But that's the reference to the Rachel Shabi getting an apology, which is an achievement, no matter whether she is Jewish or not. The fact that the Board of Deputies of British Jews has apologized to anyone is unprecedented or is very, very, very rare, because the records show that the Board of British Jews considers itself, regards itself as invincible, as being above reproach, as being above criticism. Full stop. The other thing about the Board of British Jews is that condemned, it has not condemned the UK government on any of its racist policies. And the UK government never would let any race that. So the Board of British Jews has not condemned, as far as we can see, really condemned the genocides being carried out against other people. Genocides that have been ongoing. The genocides that have been taking place for the last 80 years. If the targets of the genocides are not Jewish people. So this is the fundamental fact which the Guardian is suppressing, and of course it goes without saying, the rest of Fleet Street is suppressing. Which shows that genocide has been taking place in other countries against other people, and nobody is actually taking serious action. For example, how many genocides can be accommodated in the time length of the time that we have on this program? Let's mention the genocide that is referred to most frequently and has been referred to most frequently in the last 3 years by the mainstream British media, including Private Lie, which claims to be critical of the mainstream media but is as racist, as anti-Muslim as the rest of the media it claims to be critical of. the Chinese, the Chinese genocides that has been going on against the Chinese people of Muslim background, and the genocide that the Burmese carried out of the Muslims in Rohingya, in the Rohingya state, Arakan. Now, Arakan has been in existence for a very long time. It has not been invented by Bangladesh, which is Muslim majority. But the genocides in Burma blamed Bangladesh or Bangladeshis for inventing the Rakhine, which is what the kind of Anglicized word is. Arakan state. Arakan has been the place, the location for a very significant Muslim presence for a very long time. And the presence of Muslims in Arakan is linked to the arrival through the seas of Arabic tradespeople over the centuries. It's nothing to do with Bangladesh at all. So we should be talking about all of those. Now, there has been no reference to those genocides by the Board of British Jews. Now, most certainly and most significantly, Sky News, in its slot called Press Preview slot, has got introduced a new guest on this slot who is described as the editor of the Jewish Chronicle. Now, the Jewish Chronicle does not recognize violations of human rights of other people. Although literally it can be expected to just confine itself to cruelty, discrimination against people who are Jewish. But if you look at the context, the whole approach to the contents of the Jewish Chronicle, you will find that not only does it not confine itself to attacks on and cruelties against the Jewish people, it also supports fascists. If the fascists are attacking Muslims, if the fascists are attacking the most vulnerable, to use the term vulnerable that Gary Lineker used in his tweet under reference. And the Jewish Chronicle's current editor, who appears on the Sky News Press Preview, is a comprehensive far-right extremist, Trump-supporting, Boris Johnson-supporting, conservative-supporting, reactionary liar. Now, he's not a journalist. His main career has been as an operative propagandist for the far right. And nobody knew where he came from. Sky News suddenly launched him on the viewers. And he has been persistently hostile to any legitimate criticism of the conservative regime currently being fronted by Rishi Sunak. And is most certainly very fond of Suella Eviller Crueller Braverman. It is Braverman who has strategically got herself married to somebody she can describe as related to survivors of the Holocaust or victims of the Holocaust. Because she claims that she is married to a survivor or victim of the, or survivor and victim of the Holocaust program. Now, there is a woman called Solta, Miss Solta. Let's go to check what Miss Solta has been up to. Now, this woman is called Joan Solta. Now, Joan Solta is, she carries the MBE and is a child survivor of the Holocaust. She was born in Belgium, in Brussels, as Fanny Zimetbaum on the 15th of February 1940 to Polish Jewish parents. Now, as she told the Guardian a month ago, this is what the piece in the Guardian said. And the Guardian piece was published at 6 o'clock, 600 hours GMT on Tuesday, the 17th of January 2023. And it's published under Opinion and Immigration and Asylum. Now, when I condemned the Nadim Badshah piece about Gary Lineker as being stupid and idiotic and dishonest, I meant the evidence given by John Soltra and as carried by the Guardian itself on the 17th 2023. And the piece writes, the heading is, I confronted Suella Braverman because as a Holocaust survivor, I know what words of hate can do. John Solter. By demonizing refugees, the Home Secretary causes divisions that can lead to tragedy. We must not forget the lessons of the past. The hateful looking Suella Crueller Braverman in the picture by Jessica Taylor, UK Parliament, AFP, Getty Images. At 83 years old, my going viral on the internet thing I would have expected. But a video of me confronting the United Kingdom Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, at an event on Friday has so far been viewed more than 5 million times. For a long time, to the language used by many politicians to demonize certain groups in this country. As a child survivor of the Holocaust, I had to speak out. Let me tell you why. Next week, on 27th of January, we commemorate one of the worst atrocities committed in human history. Ordinary people. This might seem a strange choice. After all, most of us would assume that it would require a population of human monsters to enact a genocide. But in reality, acts were carried out by one group of ordinary people began in a country where Jews and non Jews had lived together in peace for generations. A small Jewish population, less than 1%, was so integrated into German culture that the majority looked upon themselves as Germans, with a variety of degree of adherence to Jewish culture and traditions. So, how did this relative harmony turn to hatred in such a short period of time? Through the use of language, the language of hate and division. This was the method used by was capable of marching millions of Jews and other minorities, people just like them, into the gas chambers. It is what enabled ordinary soldiers to return to their wives and children, satisfied that they were protecting their country from social problems caused by people whom their government had condemned were less than human. I'm an educator, not a political activist. I speak about my experiences during the Holocaust to remind the world how easily propaganda and war create such people can then turn on their neighbors. So when I hear the kind of rhetoric being used by our politicians against desperate refugees trying to make their way to safety here because they see the UK as a welcoming place for them to settle and bring up their children, I am concerned by how quickly we have forgotten the lessons of the past. During the event on Friday in Braverman's constituency, she spoke eloquently about the role of the Home Office in keeping this country safe. Her audience listened attentively as she told them that so many problems facing our country, from housing shortages to NHS waiting times, were caused by illegal migrants. It was up to her government, she claimed, to resolve this by deporting the problem. Whether Braverman believes this to be the only solution, I cannot say. But it is obvious from questions asked by those listening that this was the message they had absorbed. Comments criticizing the Royal National Lifeboat institution for saving these desperate boat people instead of leaving them to drown were shared openly and to applause from others in the audience. Is it really less than a year since hundreds of thousands of Britons opened their homes to those fleeing the violence in Ukraine? Such is the power of words, such is the fragility of civilization. This is why I challenge Braverman about her use of language. I'm not naive enough to think there are simple answers to the social and financial problems we are experiencing. And I can understand why the ordinary people of this country, the United Kingdom, often having to face a choice between food and heat, hope for a simple solution. But I feel strongly that there are alternative reasons for the difficulties being endured beyond the 100,000 or so refugees waiting to be processed before they can rebuild their lives. I also believe that it is important to remind the government of the wise words commonly attributed to Abraham Lincoln. You can fool some people all the time, and you can fool all the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all people all the time. So, Miss Braverman, stop your dangerous rhetoric and find other solutions, or history will not forgive you. And the ordinary people who have swallowed your words will eventually regret it. Now, there is a one line description of John Salter, who is an educator and Holocaust survivor. And then there is an invitation to the reader by The Guardian. Do you have an opinion on issues raised this article? If you would like to submit a response up to 300 words by email to be considered for publication in our letters section, please click here. Now, obviously, this is a broadcast program which is going live on the internet, the Khoodeelaar television channel, and I'm just reading that as I've just read that John Salter opinion dated the 17th of January 2023 on the Guardian website. Now, this is the question. Nadeem Badshah didn't refer to John Salter, nor did Jessica Alcott, nor did two of her co-writers of the later piece which appeared at 1919. The two pieces by Nadeem Badshah and the other three on the Guardian appeared, Guardian website, appeared between, let's say, 1800 to 1920, which is 1 hour and 20 minutes. How did they miss it? And I'm suggesting that John Salter, although she could have said other things, but even in that form, in that version, has summarized the crux of the real issues, which are not anything to do with any offense or any rule breaking by Gary Lineker at all. He didn't break any rule, and he didn't go anywhere near what John Salter has actually said, had said in her piece published on the Guardian website on the 17th of January, which is 17th of February, 1 month, and Gary Lineker came just 3 weeks. So let's look at the calendar. John Salter educated them to do. So what happened in the time? Let's check the actual length of time that John Salter's 17th of January piece on the Guardian was published, and Gary Lineker tweeting. So that's 17th of January. 17th of January is Tuesday, and the next week ended on the 4th of February. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 11th of February, 4 weeks, 18th of February, 5 weeks, 20th of February, 6 weeks, 4th of March, that art on Gary Lineker, it would be more than 6 weeks later, let's say. Gary Lineker was absent from presenting Match of the Day last night. This is the item published, updated on the 11 hours today, Sunday. So what date are they saying he did this? So that this is 076 hours GMT on Monday, the 13th of March 2003. The Sun website, we've just seen the update that they're emphasizing the word will return. So look at the Independent online, looking for the actual date when Gary Lineker posted that tweet. That's the voice of the Director General of the BBC. So that was Tuesday. and should have done updated analysis of the theme that Joan Soltra has published on The Guardian on the 17th of January 2023, which is the language, dehumanizing language used by ordinary people against ordinary people. That is what happened in Germany. So, as one gives press preview, that suggested that, as far as he could see it, the so called row had subsided and that he would be appearing to present the match of the day on Saturday. And he called the row as ridiculous, and they called the support of the people as overwhelming. How did the Guardian manage to conceal the truth of the impact that demonizing fascist language had in Germany on the innocent people? 1% of the population in Germany were Jewish. There were other victims of the Holocaust, people who were homosexual, and a very small number of people from Africa and Asia. That factor has not been anywhere near recognizably chronicled as it should be. But there are people, trade unionists, that the Nazis, the Hitlerites, massacred in the genocide, put them in the gas chambers. As we said, the BBC is a corrupt bureaucracy. It's a fascistic bureaucracy which has got a long record, a fascistic bureaucracy which has an absolutely long record of fascistic behavior. I organized the only ever public protest demonstration outside the BBC's then headquarters in White City in May 1986. I organized the demonstration under the banner of the campaign against racism against the Bangladeshis in the UK, which abbreviated to Karma Book. And the demonstration that I organized in May 1986 was in response to the BBC Two television in 4 parts on every Thursday called King of the Ghetto. Now, the King of the Ghetto, the BBC had created as a part of the agenda to demonize the Bangladeshis in the East End of London. And the hero of the King of the Ghetto was a character, the white character. It was loosely based on a racist, convicted racist criminal. The racist criminal got convicted many years later for racistly harassing a number of black people. And the BBC, in their King of the Ghetto lie piece in 4 parts, turned this racist into a hero. So the idea was to condemn, to demonize, to denounce the victims of racist discrimination that the Bangladeshis were facing in the east of London, and to turn this racist into a hero, saving them. And the hero role was played by a white actor called Tim Roth. Of course, that whole thinking of the ghetto racism and the protest demonstration that I organized opposite the White City headquarters of the BBC at that time in May 1986. I shall be doing an essay on that one, which will be in more than one edition of the Khoodeelaar television channel. But in the current topical context of the Suella Eviller Crueller criminality bill called Stop the Boats bill, as being also boasted of by the morality-free, ignorant Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak is an appeaser of the racists, the fascists that dominate the British establishment. And the fascists that actually have manufactured, strategically invented serial stooges of racist narrative and agenda, like Priti Patel, like Suella Braverman, Suella Fernandez, this is both have Thomas Bedington that is into a Thomas Babington Macaulay is described as Thomas Babington Macaulay. Look at the fucking obscene fucking elevation of the cunt. Thomas Babington Macaulay, first Baron Macaulay, PC, FRC, FRSE, fuck the lot of them, was a British historian, politician, who served as the Secretary of War between 1839 and whatever. Let's check the cunt's details. Look at the fucking shit. The Right Honorable, the Lord Macaulay, PC, FRS, FRSC, fuck the lot. So he was born on the 25th of October 1800 and he died on the 28th of December 1859. Was a British historian and Whig politician who served as the Secretary at War. This is an entry, the wrong entry. Secretary at War. It should be Secretary of War, you fucking cunts, at Wikipedia. Between 1839 and 1841, and as Paymaster General between 1846 and 1848. Now, that is not what we are going to look for. Now, this is the part 1834 to 1838. Advocated abolition of the civil disabilities of the Jews in the UK. Now, what was the civil disabilities? Jewish disabilities were legal restrictions, limitations, and obligations placed on European Jews in the Middle Ages. In Europe, the disabilities imposed on Jews included provisions requiring Jews to wear specific and identifying clothing such as the Jewish hat and the yellow badge, paying special taxes, swearing special oaths, living in certain neighborhoods, and forbidding Jews to enter certain trades. In Sweden, for example, Jews were forbidden to sell new pieces of clothing. Disabilities also included special taxes levied on Jews, exclusion from public life, restraints on the performance of religious ceremonies, and linguistic censorships. Some countries went even further and outright expelled Jews. For example, England in 1290. Jews were readmitted in 1655. So look at the number of years, hundreds of years. and Spain in 1492, readmitted in 1868. So these abilities began to be lifted with Jewish emancipation in the late 18th and 19th centuries. In 1791, revolutionary France was the first country to abolish disabilities altogether, followed by Hungary in 1840 and Prussia in 1848. Hungary enacted the full emancipation on 20 and United Kingdom was achieved in 1858 after an almost 30-year struggle championed by Isaac Leon Goldsmith, with the ability of Jews to sit in parliament with the passing of Jews Relief Act 1858. The newly united German Empire abolished Jewish disabilities in Germany in 1871. The first Jewish settlers in North America arrived in the Dutch colony of New Amsterdam in 1654. They were forbidden to hold public office, open a retail shop, or establish a synagogue. Served North America